Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Priska. Today, I'm going to present about teaching reading and writing to young learners. So, as we know, teaching English to young learners is different from teaching English to adult learners, and it is not easy because young learners uh, have unique characteristics in their learning. So, as a teacher, before we teach young learners, it is really necessary to know what is young learner is and what are the characteristics of young learners. So here are, according to Klein 2005, young learners tend to change their mood every other minute and they find it extremely difficult to sit still. And in line with Harmer says that young learners are curious, like to seek teacher approval, and tend to be bored very easily, and do not like sitting and listening for a long time. And here are the characteristics of young learners. According to Scott and Yetzberg, 1993, first, they understand situation more quickly than they understand the language used. And their own understanding comes through hands, eyes, and ears. And they have very short attention and concentration span. And children do not always understand what adults are talking about, and they cannot decide for themselves what to learn, and they love to play, and they are enthusiastic and positive about learning. And uh, the next is about the definition about reading. So according to Harmer 2007, reading is useful for language acquisition, which provide information about what they read and why they get in reading activities. So this is the general definition from reading. And according to Nunan 1999, 89, I mean, reading is written symbol of the decoding process that working from the smaller unit, such individual letters, to the large unit, such as words and then clauses and sentence. And according to Al-Harbi, 2015, reading comprehension skills can be acquired easily through positive communication between the educator and the learner. See, reading comprehension skill can be obtained, can be acquired easily through positive communication between the educators and students. So in this case, the teacher has a, a very important role in teaching reading to young learners. So the learners are able to understand the material that have been given from the educators. And as we know, uh, reading is a receptive skills. Apart from listening also a receptive skills. So in receptive, the learners are able to recognize and react and respond to someone's speech, someone's utterance, to uh, in in their environment, and they are able to understand the meaning of expressions and tone of voice of someone. So here are some ideas about reading. Reading is learn to identify words and get their meaning, and learn to pronounce the words, and learn to bring meaning to a text to get meaning from it. And here are the six about reading difficulties in young learners. First, young learners have difficulties in pronouncing the words, and they lack of vocabulary and less engaged in the reading task and less confident in ability to read. And unfamiliar with English, and sometimes they uh, frustrated with difficult work tasks. So as a teacher, we have to see the difficulties that I experienced by the young learners. So from the difficulties, we know about the strategies, about what the material, about what method that we can apply to them, and uh, the journal that I read about uh, analyze the difficulties about young learner. I found this discussion is the students, the learner will be more uh, successful, will be more get more understanding if the teachers match with the teaching styles to their or to the learner's learning style. So before we teach the young learner, it's better if we know the young learner, uh, I mean, their learning style first. Because every learner have a different learning style. So we as a teacher can match, can adapt our learning style, I mean teaching style to their learning style. So yeah, as you know, guys, already know about the learning styles uh, that are visual, visual listening, and auditory, from hearing and aesthetic, about moving, tactile, about touching, and yeah. Furthermore, in order to support our English language teaching in the classroom, we as a teacher should have some competencies. They are, yeah, according to Lin's 2006, mention three characteristics of competent English young learner teacher. The first is young learner teachers need to have a very good language skills, of course, and need good interaction skills. Because why? Because we as a teacher provide a primary language input for the young learner for them. And as I previously explained, reading uh, can be acquired, uh, can be taught, I mean, through positive communication between educators and the learners. So the teachers must have a good language skills and interaction skills so that the learning can be met uh, or can be the teachers can create more interactive uh, learn. And the second is young learner teachers need knowledge of young learner. I mean, young learner teachers need knowledge of how children learn foreign languages and appropriate teaching strategies for teaching English. And yeah, this means like we as a teacher create over and over again interest learning to young learners in our teaching. And the third is young learner teachers need to have knowledge of children's cognitive and emotional development as this impacts on their language learning. And yeah, here are some strategies for helping students with reading difficulties. According to Dewi and Prawita 2016, the first strategies is reading aloud. Reading aloud means we as a teacher reading aloud to young learners, young students. Because by reading aloud, we can stimulate the language and the cognitive abilities in young learners, and reading aloud also build students' motivation, curiosity, and their memory. Okay, so the second is reading the book several times. Yeah, once again, read over and over again until the young learner get too used to it, get to used to it, get used to read a book, read a text. And then the third strategy is reading favorite books. So the teacher can give or can ask the students what is their favorite books. So the perhaps all things that the young learner can do is at least they want to read first, although they read their favorite books, doesn't matter. And for strategies is show many picture books, so many picture books, because as we know, a young learner, of course, definitely uh, love to look at the picture, then the color, and so on. And yeah, here are the four main approaches to teach young learners according to current 2001. The first is emergent literacy. So the emergent literacy is which children seem to be learn to read without instructions and step by step and through exposure to text and uh, reading. So in emergent literacy, a young learner read from books that are interest to them, and yeah, they will start uh, work for themselves. I mean, they will read their book with themselves without instruction for, from the teacher or from the parents, because they they like or they love what they read, so they can choose the books what they want to hear, what they want to read, and they are more likely to choose to read the same book maybe over and over again. So from here, the young learner are taught to understand the meaning first, understand the meaning first, and then understand the whole story. I mean, understand the story, and from that meaning, young learner move to understand all the words and all the letters, starting for the consonant and then the final consonant, and then they know about the vowel and so on. And the second main approaches is language experience approach. Language experience approach is children begin to read at the sentence level, and its main feature is the use of the child's own experience as the topic of the text. So this approach is used that if children are given reading material that they are used to, it will help them to learn to read. And the second, I mean the third approaches is whole word or key words approach. So this approach is referred to as the SAI or say method, which teaches children to recognize whole words or sentences rather than individual sounds. So in the whole word approach, the young learner learn words such as uh, cat and dog, sheep as a whole and independent words. And yeah, as usually, the learner accompany, accompanied by picture, and word. So once again, young learner love to read if love to learn if the teacher provide the picture also. And the last approach is a phonic teaching. So phonic teaching is how reader understand letters and how to pronounce them correctly in reading activities, and encourages students to record written letters by sound. So initially, the young learner is invited to recognize the sound of the letters, and then the letters become syllables and words, and to introduce the sounds of various letters, the teacher usually associated with the letters in front of various names of objects that are familiar to children, to young learners, such as letter A, and then the teacher provides the picture of apple, and then letter B for the picture of book, and so on. So the teaching phonic approach can be used in language learning young learners, because young learners will learn while playing. Yeah, as I say before, the teacher can teach the young learner while playing. I mean, uh, let them play, let them learn while uh, recognizing the syllables, and then counting the letters by adding the pictures, and so on. And yeah, actually, these uh, four approaches can be also implement to teach writing to young learners. Yeah, and if you ask me what is the best approach to teach them in reading and writing, I can say there is no there is no the best or most effective approach, because it all depends on the our teaching situation, because the method, the approaches, and the techniques that we use in one type of, I mean, one class or one type of situation, maybe different from uh, another class or another situation. So we as a teacher can can see situation first, then I mean, as I said before, know about the learning styles about young learners first, and then the characteristics. So we can choose what is the approach can be applicable to them. And yeah, according to Lingga Suganda 2015, there are three things that young learners succeed in learning to read. So the first is innovative and appropriate approach. So once again, by knowing the approach, we as a teacher will be as easier, and the learner in the learning process can understand well about what we explain to them. And yeah, from the approaches that we know previously, teacher can choose the approach to teaching reading or writing according to the situation and learning environment of the young learners itself. And yeah, the second thing is effective material. Yeah, once again, teachers maybe can use a picture books to teach, because the young learner uh, really love to see the picture he while he learn. I mean, and then uh, the teacher can read the story to them, and then they can looking at the picture. So uh, it gets recorded in their brains, and they start to imagining it in their brain. And yeah, we can choose as we teach as a teacher, we can choose books that support learning, such as biography books, or poetry, or fairy tale. Yeah, and yeah, that suitable uh, to the young learners. So the third is teachers and parents role. So teacher and parents role is one of the factor or that can succeed the young learner learn to read, because the ones being taught uh, are are young learners, and we know that the characteristic of these young learners are very enthusiastic and also get bored easily. Therefore, teacher are at least we as a teacher be energetic as students. I mean, we uh, can teach them more expressive because as much as possible because we have to build their learning form of uh, fun activities or exciting activities that attract them to learn with us. And besides teacher roles, parents also have a role because parents must also support their learning in home. So the young learner not only get teaching, get get the knowledge from the teacher only, but parents also review and pay attention more to the development of their young learner until until the young learner get used to learning to read. And uh, parents can also read stories to their children. And the next is about teaching writing. Writing is a process of putting ideas down on paper to transform thoughts into words, to sharpen mind ideas, to give them structure and coherent organization. And when teaching writing, teachers must be sure to select the most effective sources and support materials, helping them learn to write. And here are some writing difficulties in young learner according to JVISA 2016. The first is errors in spelling of words. Yeah, uh, according to the journal that I read, some students still have difficulty in writing some words or spelling the words, and that's why it makes them difficult to write down the words what they hear because they are confused about how to spell the word correctly. They they don't know how to spell the words, so they can write the words into the form of writing, and then errors in grammar or use of systematic pattern, and then problems in vocabulary or choosing of words. Well, in this part, in this section, based on the research from the journal that I read from Jevisa, vocabulary is not a big problem for the learners because the teacher served has served, has give them some words will be used in writing sentences, but they are just confused about choosing the words to build their sentences. I mean, in this in this part is they know a lot of vocabulary, but they just confused about uh, make the sentences or choose the words to make the sentences. Yeah, this is how to teach writing to young learners. The first, use the shared events of students' lives to inspire writing and help students analyze text by asking them to imagine dialogue between the authors and work with words relevant to students' life to help them build vocabulary. Choose topics which the children can relate to in their own experience, for example, in the playground rather than in the bank, because usually young learner uh, in the playground, and then help students ask questions about their writing and challenge students to find active verbs and encourage descriptive writing by focusing on the sounds of words and make a writing reflection uh, singable. So this is my Quizizz link about reading and teaching reading and writing. And here are some references that uh, fulfill my material about teaching reading and uh, writing. So the conclusion is we as before we teach them, we have to know about the young learner characteristic first, and then what they learning styles, so that we can match our approach, our teaching styles, our strategies to learn them deeply. So yeah, hopefully the young learner can master English uh, very well, because as we remember, because English is not their first language. That's mean the teaching strategies are very useful in helping students to learn English. So yeah, that's all for me about teaching reading and writing. Hope you can get more understanding about my material. Thank you.